In this episode, Mark Romanack of Fishing 411 TV teams up with Eagle Claw product designer Darin Telfer to field test the Starfire-X inline planer board rods on Lake Erie. Mother Erie is angry, but Mark and Darin tough it out in some challenging conditions. When the dust, or in this case the waves, settle, our boys box an impressive catch of walleye using the Precise Walleye Crank in combination with offshore tackle side planer boards.
We're going to give it a little pop of that rod tip, see if you can trip that board a little harder. There you go, tripped. Perfect, perfect. And we can take that bait clicker off too, because that'll drive the people at home insane. Welcome to Lake Erie. This is your first trip to Lake Erie, Darin?
Yep, first trip out here.
All right, well, very, very cool. You picked a heck of a day to do it. Look around you. It's not always this crazy and rough, but as you can see, it doesn't seem to be intimidating the fish. The fish are going to cooperate regardless of whether the weather does.
That's all that matters.
So I can see him up there on the surface, so not super big fish, but a fish nonetheless. Mr. Walleye. Nice. Just an average walleye. And one in the scoop. There we go. Well, we're sitting here with Darin Telfer from Eagle Claw with his first Lake Erie walleye. I got a feeling you're going to beat that before the day's over. It's a good one. It's just not as good as I think we're going to catch today.
Yeah. Well, a little rough out here, but we're still catching them, so can't beat that.
Yeah, it is what it is. So that's the reason why when you called and said you wanted to come, that I said you got to book several days, because if you're just here for a day or two, you could literally not even get on the water. So that's what Lake Erie does to us. But that's the start. What we're going to do, we're going to kick him back and appeasement to the fish gods, if you will, and see if we can't get you a breeder. So hat's going to blow off. She's a little windy today on the big pond. Whoa. If you look around this, Mother Erie is really speaking to us today, and she's not speaking to us kindly. So today is about as rough as what we would typically try to fish and film in. You know, there is a little bit of a strategy associated with fighting fish in rough water. Really what it comes down to is just slow and steady. And the boat is surging terribly right now. You know, back off the drag, so the tension of the drag's just enough that you can actually gain a little tension on the fish. Darin's going to help me get that board off. Perfect, perfect. And just to avoid pumping the rod. Just a slow, steady retrieve is usually going to produce the best. And Darin, I think we're going to try and take this fish right off the kicker motor corner.
Sounds good.
And this was my high line, so he's not too far back. So haven't seen him yet, but he feels like a fairly decent fish. Oh, he's not impressive at all. He's just an average Lake Erie walleye. Perfect. Just an average eater, of which there are zillions and zillions of these in the system right now. Depending on what biologist you talk to, some numbers they're saying potentially as high as 100 million walleyes in Lake Erie. I don't know if you can get your mind wrapped around that. I certainly can't. 100 million walleyes is an awful lot of walleyes. But this age class, tons of them. Hopefully we'll see some bigger fish today as well.
Fishing 411 TV is brought to you in part by Striker Brands. Go early, go late, go prepared. Fishing 411 TV is brought to you in part by Fishhawk Electronics. Going fishing without a fishhawk is called boating.
All right, Mark, got one on here in the outside board.
Looking at that board there, I'd say that's going to be a good fish for you. That thing is, he didn't bury it, but he definitely pulled that board back hard.
Yeah.
And, give it a little snap and see if you can get that board to release. It's tough in this waves and you should. No, you're okay. You're okay. We're good. I think if it didn't release, you're fine. I know you did release. You're good. You're good. So, holy smokes, it's bumpy here. My word.
Definitely feels a little nicer than the last one.
Yeah, just generally you can kind of judge the grade of the fish just by how fast the board goes back, and that one was going back lickety split. So lickety split. All yours, Darin.
All right.
Let's see if I can get over here and find a landing net. There you go, sir. Staying down nice. That's a good thing. Oh, I see. There you go. Very nice fish.
Nice.
Congratulations, Jimmy.
Nice. Thank you.
Upgraded. Well, a little bit different. Of course, you notice that's a different crankbait. That's a smaller version. That's called the PWC Light. It's a little smaller than the bait we have been catching our fish on. But that color, that bug-eye color has been red hot. You notice we have this little magic invention snap weight. That's what got that bait a little bit deeper. So it's something we call the 50+2 method. Basically, let the crankbait out 50 foot, put the 2-ounce snap weight on, and let a little bit more line out to be able to get a shallow diving bait to the depth of what these deeper diving baits are doing. And so that's a beautiful thing. I would say, you said 24 inches is your biggest walleye?
Yep, 24 inches.
I will throw him on the tape here for you before we throw him back, but I don't know if that's 24, but he's getting close.
Yeah,
he's getting
it's
close.
a nice
man.
one.
All right.
I can't complain.
Let's talk a little bit about our setup today. We're running straight crankbaits. Our big boy here in my left hand, this is called the PWC, and this is a bait that's a deep diving bait. It's very popular here in Lake Erie. We like it because it gets to depth very, very quickly. So we're running fairly short leads on this, 30, 40, 50-foot leads, and still getting down into that 20-foot zone. This lure over here is a newcomer. This one's called the PWC Light, and as you can see, it's much smaller. It doesn't dive nearly as deep, and so we're fishing these in combination with snap weights to get them down to that 20-foot level. So most of our fish are coming 15 to 22 down, and we're able to get that accomplished with both of these lures. But the PWC Light, unassisted, probably wouldn't dive deep enough for what we need, but the snap weight gets them down quickly, very efficiently, and we're getting some bonus fish on that as well.
Yeah, you know, in Colorado we use a lot of similar techniques, but the conditions are typically a little easier than this.
Well, believe it or not, Lake Erie can lay down, and it can actually be a very pleasant experience. Today, not so much. But we're catching fish, and that's not a bad thing. This is going to be a snap weight line here, so we got a snap weight coming up shortly. And there, now it's just you and the fish.
All right.
Normally by this time we'd be able to get a look at them, but this water's just chalky enough that you really can't even see them until they're literally on top of you. That's good fish. See it? Got a nice. Lift and throw your rod out. There we go. Whoa, I missed him. There we go. Nice.
Nice. There we go.
That's a beautiful thing. And that is absolutely the most typical fish that you'll generally catch here. There's just a zillion of them in that size class. And if a guy was inclined to eat walleye, that's about as perfect as they get. Plenty of meat on them cheeks, plenty of meat on those bones.
Yeah, can't complain with that. All right, yeah, so we had a little casualty from these big Lake Erie walleyes. So we're going to swap out this treble hook. We're going to be putting a Trocar treble on the back of it. And really what makes these unique is this is a CNC machine point on the end of this thing. So it's going to be a lot sharper, it's going to hold that point longer, and it's going to stick you more fish.
Oh, baby. Look at that rod bend. Darin is the guy that helped us develop these Starfire-X rods for Eagle Claw. And I'm working very closely with him. And in my humble opinion, this is about as good an inline planer board rod as you can buy. Woo! It's a little bit nautical out here right now. He got a mouthful of plug, don't he? Nice. Nice. Still got to get bigger. I mean, we're getting some numbers. And considering the environmental conditions, I'm not disappointed, but we'd sure like to see some bigger ones, and we're going to keep after it.
Fishing 411 TV is brought to you in part by the Ultimate Sports Show Tour and Abyss Batteries. Power your pursuit. Fishing 411 TV is brought to you in part by Big Bite Baits and Steel Shad Premier Fishing Lures. Smokercraft Incorporated and Suzuki Outboards presents the 411 on Fishing.
You know, one of the really nice features on the Force Kraken motor here by Garmin is the fact that it has this little key fob right here. Now, just about every auto style motor has a key fob, but this is just a very intuitive key fob to use. And in particular, right now I'm anchoring, and when I go ahead and I hit that anchor button, what happens a lot of times when you hit the anchor button, the boat is still moving, you're still drifting. And one of the really nice features is it gives you the distance from where you hit that anchor button to where it's pulling you back. So let me give you an example. If I'm actually driving with the boat, I hit anchor, the boat's still moving forward, it might say 10 or 15 feet from anchor, and it's going to go ahead and pull you back to the spot that you originally anchored from. Another really nice feature is if I decide to jog right or left, it tells me again that distance, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 feet if I want to jog off to the right or left. So that little digital screen on this key fob just makes it super intuitive. Another really nice feature within the key fob itself, very simple, but there's a waypoint option, and I really enjoy that. So instead of having to touch the graph and save a waypoint, if I'm catching fish, I already have the key fob in my hand, I can simply hit that waypoint option. So the Force Kraken electric motor from Garmin is one of the nicest motors I've ever fished. It's a really high quality product. You team that up with a high quality key fob, makes it a premium product.
Looks like we got a nicer one on here. Get the rod out.
We just reset that one, so that's good news. That is good news. I can't even imagine how much fun we'd be having today if it was a little bit more conducive to enjoying the great outdoors, but I didn't see that one trip, but it must have tripped the board right out of the get-go, huh?
Yeah. Looks like it pulled it back pretty far. Yeah, so out in Colorado, typically we're fishing reservoirs. That's the majority of what we have there. And despite the lack of water we have in Colorado, we still have some pretty good walleye fisheries. Certainly not the same quality that we have here in Lake Erie, but definitely some good fish.
Very good looking fish, Darin. Very good looking fish. You're doing good. Just keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Raise that rod tip. He's in the bucket. There. Nice. Upgrade again, my friend. That is definitely a nicer looking fish right there. Yeah. For sure an upgrade for you, Darin. There's no question about it. You can just tell the thickness this way and also the thickness this way of the fish. And you're starting to get into that honest 5-pound level right there. So that's more what I was hoping to show you today. We'll get you a couple more of those before it's said and done, I hope.
Yeah, that is a great quality fish. Thank you, Mark.
You know, when it comes to crankbait fishing, there's some natural transitions you need to understand when we're talking about walleyes. Early in the year when the water's very cold, you're going to want to use a bait that is, have a subtle action. I describe it as a rolling action. Looks like this in the water. But right now we're at an important threshold in that we're almost 60 degree temperature-wise. And when you get to 60 degrees, these fish light up, they get more aggressive, and you don't have to have that subtle action anymore to get bit. You actually can have a more aggressive side-to-side wobbling bait and get bit. And today we're seeing that because the PWC light has a more aggressive action and it's getting considerable bites today. But we're still getting bites on the subtle action of the PWC. In another week or two here, when the water's well into the 60s, and the high action bait's going to produce more action and more success than the subtle action baits. Now that's a good thing, but when we get back into the fall of the year, when the water temperatures start to go back down and cool down again, it'll be those subtle action baits that fire up. So if you understand these transitions and in terms of fishing with crankbaits, you can stay on Lake Erie walleyes with crankbaits literally year-round with great success.
In Colorado, we'd call this a pretty good walleye, so can't complain too much.
We cannot complain about the number of fish we've caught today. It's been a solid action, absolutely solid action. And that is a good thing, and a good mix. Some on the snap weights and PWC lights, some on the PWC. Definitely a good mix.
It's amazing how consistent it's been. Not much of a break in the action.
No. No, it certainly hasn't been. In fact, you can kind of judge that by how many snacks you've eaten. We've barely had a chance to eat a snack today. But you can be a troll and eat a lot of snacks. But there's been no time to partake in snacks.
All right, there we go.
Nice.
All right.
Good scoop.
Oh, nicer one.
Good scoop. Whew. Now that's a good looking fish. I'm really pleased the way the program has come together today. Literally every rod and reel we have out, every lure we have in the water has caught fish, and that, my friends, is a beautiful thing.
Fishing 411 TV is brought to you in part by Cisco Fishing Systems, your fishing equipment experts. Fishing 411 TV is brought to you in part by ProCure, ruthlessly effective bait scents.
All right, looks like we're hooked up again. You know, Mark, I think one of the biggest differences with here in Colorado, we're using a lot of the same techniques, but a lot of guys are only running 2 boards, and this loop trick that you have is really slick with keeping the boards clean. Even in choppy conditions like this, we're not getting tangled up. So,
well, I always tell people when they start with board fishing to go modest at first. You know, a couple of lines aside is a good starting point. And then when you get cocky, then you can start setting 3 and 4 and 5 lines aside. But you don't want to jump right into it with both feet. When I took the snap weight off, it felt like it had some life to it.
it was just tricking me.
It's coming with you is what it was doing.
Oh, yeah, now it's got some life to it.
That's not a bad looking fish. Not bad at all. Here we go.
All right, got a nice, healthy Lake Erie walleye. A little bit smaller than we've been getting, but still a nice fish.
Well, we just caught a fish. Now it's time to reset up again. And I like to run my planer boards so that I can trip the planer board. Let me show you how we do it. Something we call a loop trick. I just grab the line and I'm spinning it in my fingers. It's really quite simple. And then I'm going to take the front planer board clip and I'm going to put it right on that line just like that. Then I'm going to go to the back here and there's a second clip. I'm going to put the line in the clip. And if I can get in there, there we go. And so what's going to happen when a fish pulls the board back, flag is going to go down, board's going to go back. And if I give the rod tip a little tunk, I can pop the line free, but the planer board is still attached right there, just like that. And the beauty of that is that once the board releases, it's no longer planing out to the side. So it'll start to drop back really quickly. The beauty of it is that it's going to allow you to fish other lines without having to clear other lines. So I happen to have my legal limit of lines out on the side here. I got 3 lines out. So if I can get a fish on the outside board, I can trip that and fight that fish without having to clear the number 2 or the number 1 board line. So it works out very, very well. It's super simple. And the reason we use the loop trick is it just makes it a little easier to trip the board. Well, the pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together. And I think we've caught fish on every single line that we've got out there. And that's a good thing. From a trolling perspective, you start out the day with some experimentation. And by the end of the day, hopefully you figured out enough that you're getting bites consistently and all of your lines that you're fishing are actually getting bit. And in case you're ever wondering how long a guy should fish a lure without it being productive, 20 to 30 minutes is about as long as I want to fish. If I can fish, I'm catching fish on other lines, and I'm fishing 20 to 30 minutes without getting a bite, I'm thinking maybe it's time to change something up. Change the lure, change the color, change something up. And I can see him back there. He's trying to cooperate. The other indication that the pieces of the puzzle are coming together is I'm fighting one now. I look over at Darin's board, his board's going back. So it's starting to come into play here. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah, despite all the choppy waves, we're still catching fish, so can't beat that. Can't complain. I can't think of better conditions to really test out these Starfires, so we're really putting them through the gauntlet today.
You can say that again. You can say that again. I think that one might be a little better.
Yeah, and, feels like a decent one.
Well, we had a couple of fish over 24 inches today, but not as many as I thought we would have. But reality is, it's fishing. It's hard to predict sometimes. There we go. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Darin from Eagle Claw for coming out and spending some quality time with us on Lake Erie. I didn't get you your big fish, but I got you lots of fish.
Yeah, oh, it's been great. Really can't beat this.
Hey, I'm Mark Romanack, and you've been watching Fishing 411. Thanks again for watching today, and we look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week.
Closed captioning is provided courtesy of Precision Trolling Data, the Troller's Bible. Fishing 411 TV comes to you courtesy of Offshore Tackle, Yakima Bait Company, Suzuki Marine, Jay's Sporting Goods, Smooth Move Seats, Garmin Marine, Bill Lewis Lures, Starcraft Marine, Niagara Falls, USA, and Eagle Claw.
Another nice one.
We've caught fish literally all day long, and we're picking up to call it a day, and you're still fighting fish. I guess you can't complain about that.
No.